When it comes to human emotions and feelings, it's become something that's been part of our everyday lives. Whenever something happens in our lives, we're able to express it based on our emotions, regardless if they're good and bad. However we're feeling can affect how we act and behave based on the emotions that we have. And when it comes to the feeling of hatred, many people consider this to be the most intense feeling to ever have. But it's not like hatred just comes out of nowhere, as there's a reason why this feeling can be part of someone's life. And for Kyoko Majiro, who also goes by the name of Anko Gizu from the series called of the. When it comes to Anko, she's very open about her hatred towards vampires, and once you learn more about her as a character, you can't really blame her for having this particular feeling. When we are first introduced to Anko, she comes across as a very unique individual, as while she is very sociable, very observant, and very straightforward with you, this could all quickly change in an instant, something that Ko was able to quickly realize once he was having a conversation with Anko, as while at first everything seemed okay, this quickly escalated once Anko mentioned vampires to Ko and how she knew that Ko had a connection with vampires, making it very clear to stay away from them as her intentions are very crystal clear. She's determined to kill and eradicate every vampire that she sees by any means necessary, and this wasn't just a baseless accusation or just some sort of threat that had no meaning, because when it comes to Anko in the world of Call of the Night, in a world filled with vampires, while Anko is a human, she is a human that vampires should fear, because due to her hatred for vampires, she has studied vampires for a good portion of her life, and due to her dedication of eliminating vampires, she actually found a way that she can eliminate a vampire despite the powers that they hold, and one of these weaknesses is human memories. You see, Anko was able to find out that if a vampire is able to come in contact with something that was important to them when they were humans, once that was eliminated, it had the potential to kill that vampire. The deeper the emotional bond, the greater the effect, and this becomes a huge part of the story in Call of the Night Season 2, as we see the vampires that Ko has befriended trying to remember their days when they were humans, but also trying to figure out what that object is that was important to them when they were still humans in order to secure it and make sure that Anko does not get their hands on it. These sequence of events really just highlights just how terrified the vampires are of Anko, because Anko, despite her not having any powers whatsoever, what made Anko terrifying was the deep knowledge she may have towards the vampires. She may know things that the vampires have no idea anymore, because the vampires have no recollection of how they lived their lives when they were humans, because it's been so many years since they were humans. But just because they don't know anything about their human lives anymore, it doesn't mean that Anko, who is a detective, has spent who knows how much time looking into their past and trying to figure out everything about them. So it's because of this knowledge that Anko has that in a way the vampires are at a disadvantage, whereas with Anko, who once again is still just a human at the end of the day, has the vampires in the palm of her hand, and that's what truly makes Anko scary. It isn't that she has a unique power or she can go toe to toe in a fight with a vampire, it's the fact that she's actually a very smart individual and you don't know what's her next step or what move she's going to do, because that's just how unpredictable Anko can be. But there's still an important question when it comes to Anko as a character, and that question is just simply why? Why is she going so far to be in a solo battle with the vampires? Why did she spend a good portion of her life trying to learn every little detail about the vampires until she can find no longer anything new? And why does she have a deep hatred for the vampires to begin with? Well, all this was going to be answered in Season 2, as in Season 2 we learn more about Anko's past and what led her to be the woman that she is now. You see, before she was a detective, before she was this vampire hunter, Anko's life wasn't perfect whatsoever. As the more we learn about Anko's past, the more we come to realize that Anko did not have a good relationship with her parents, more specifically with her father, as it seems that the relationship between her mother and her father was going downhill. This severely affected Anko to the point that she even decided to spend most of her time outside of her house, and for a good while Anko was just basically by herself. she had no friends, she had nobody she could talk to. But during those moments, that was okay for her because she was finally at peace. She finally did not have to worry about anything else. So as long as this was happening, she was perfectly fine with the life she had at that moment. But just like anybody else, all it takes is one person to be involved in your life to completely change it, and you start to experience things that you never experienced before. That's exactly what happened with Anko when she met Nazuna, who was already a vampire at this point but was still trying to figure out how to live her life. This new relationship that Anko had with Nazuna would be completely life-changing, as not only would Anko finally have somebody that she could talk to, not just be alone all the time, but this would also lead to her, for who knows how long, finally being able to have fun in her life. Nazuna, despite her not really understanding a lot of things, still managed to be somebody that Anko didn't mind hanging around with. And every time she and Nazuna spent time together, you could tell right away that Anko was having a good time. And even though she would find out about Nazuna and who she actually is, this of course being a vampire, it didn't stop Anko from talking to her or spending time with her, because she didn't care if Nazuna was not human. She didn't care if Nazuna was somebody she can't fully understand, because Nazuna was still somebody special to her. Nazuna was somebody that helped her, even if she didn't realize it in a massive way, because without her, her life was just a mess. Nothing was happening. For Anko, it was like she was living her life but with nothing memorable happening and with no happiness whatsoever. That is, until Nazuna appeared in her life. And it's because of Nazuna that she was starting to look forward to what life had to offer her. She was able to finally vent her honest feelings to Nazuna about how she was feeling about her situation with her family, something she probably couldn't do before because she was all by herself, and once again she had no friends or anybody that she could talk to. Essentially, what Nazuna became to Anko was somebody important in her life and somebody that she hopes she never has to separate from no matter what. But this wouldn't be the only good thing to happen in Anko's life, as during this time Anko's parents wanted to fix the relationship. More specifically, Anko's dad wanted to make sure that the family was together and acted like a family once again. He apologized for everything he did to Anko and for not being there when she needed him, and apologized to her mother for all the problems that he caused. And this was something that was great for Anko, because this was another thing she wanted. She wanted her family to be together. She wanted her family to be a happy family, because despite the problems within the family, at the end of the day, it was still her family. It was still people that she cared for, and it was people that she wanted to have a good relationship with. And just when it seems that Anko's life is starting to take a turn for the better, and this is going to be a new chapter for her, sadly this new chapter was not going to be happy whatsoever, as when her parents were celebrating with her for her birthday, which was actually on October 31st, Halloween day, tragedy would happen, because as it will be revealed that Anko's dad was turned into a vampire, sadly killing her mother, and would have killed her had it not been for Anko killing him first. But with both of her parents now being gone from her life, this traumatic experience would drastically change Anko for the rest of her life. Not just in the way she lived her life from now on, but also this would drastically change the relationship she had with Nazuna. As when Nazuna sees Anko once again, this being during the aftermath of the tragedy, Anko makes it very clear, based on how she talks and behaves towards Nazuna, it's very clear that this would be the beginning of Anko's hatred towards vampires. A hatred that she had even as an adult, and a hatred that you can't really blame her for having, because with this new information, what we could see with Anko is a tragic character, a character who went through so much because of the existence of vampires, and it's that existence of vampires that leads to Anko deciding that vampires have to be dealt with. She has to do something about those vampires so that nobody else can suffer the way she did, and no families can be torn apart because of them. But while this was the initial goal that Anko had in mind, and this was something that she thought she could accomplish, at some point during all this, she came to realize that she couldn't do it all by herself. there was no way she could kill all the vampires that existed in this world. So with this realization, it leads to Anko going from revenge to just simply choosing to end it all in her own way, while at the same time leaving a mark so that nobody can forget about her and always remembered what she did when she was alive. She initiated this plan on Halloween Day by going on a rampage, attacking all the vampires that she investigated, knowing full well that while this wasn't going to kill them, what this was going to do was give them the reason to go after her and end her life, something in which not all the vampires are on board with because they're conflicted if that's even the right decision. Even though they're vampires, it doesn't mean that all of them are heartless monsters that are just going to kill anybody that crosses them. It's this conflict that gives Ko enough time to realize what is Anko's true plan, and that plan being is for her to be killed. When Ko finally realizes this, it's during the same time when Nazuna and Anko meet once again, leading to them having a fight that Nazuna doesn't want to have with Anko because despite everything, she still was somebody that she has history with. She's still somebody that she even considers a friend till this day, even after everything that happened between them. And even though Anko has done so many things towards Ko and the other vampires, it's still not enough for Nazuna to want to end Anko's life. Only until Anko once again threatens Nazuna that when she gets Ko, she will kill him because of his support of vampires is when Nazuna finally gets serious. Just when it seems that the final battle is going to come to an end, Ko intervenes, finally stopping the battle between Nazuna and Anko. And it's here that Ko exposes Anko's true plan, why she wanted the vampires to come and get her and kill her, and that reason being is that with her death, it will prove of the existence of vampires. In her mind, once her death happens and people realize that vampires exist in the world, this will be enough for people to not go outside at night. But while this is technically still true, there is also another reason as to why Anko wanted to die, and it's because she just simply had enough. She was suffering, she was deeply depressed, and because of the tragedy that happened, it's not something that she can easily forget, and it's something that probably still haunts her till this very day. It's unfortunate, but this is the sad reality that so many people go through when they're miserable, when they don't feel like it's worth living anymore, and that's exactly what Anko felt throughout her entire life, which is why even after her plan failed, Anko still had intentions of ending her life, something that Ko prevented once again. But this still wouldn't be the end of the tragedy surrounding Anko, as when finally she's able to reflect on everything that happened with her, she's heartbroken at the fact that she did all this for nothing. She wasn't able to accomplish what she wanted to do. She wasn't able to get the revenge she wanted or to fulfill the goal that she had in mind all this time. When this realization hits, she realizes that she basically wasted her youth for a plan that wasn't a success, and that is the dangers of having revenge and hatred consuming someone's life, because that's all they focus on, just simply what they want to do no matter what, ignoring the other aspects of life because they're so determined into getting back at the people that wronged them, not realizing that this may just be a waste of time, or there's a 50% chance that they'll get back at the people that they want to get back at. And when that happens, now what? What's next for this person? Do they have something else in mind? When that reality hits, that person can't answer that question, or that person doesn't know what to do anymore because they never thought this scenario would happen. And that's exactly what Anko went through when she didn't get her way. But just because things didn't happen the way she wanted, it didn't mean that her life was over. Even though she can never forget about the tragedy that happened to her all those years ago, even though she can never get back those years she wasted of her life, it doesn't mean that she can't continue living. She still has a life full ahead of her. Now that she's able to reflect everything that happened in her life, now there's a chance that she could follow a new path in life. There's still time for her to be a different person. There's still time for her to experience things that she wants to experience. And there's still time for her to form new friendships, relationships, or even reconnect with the people that she separated from all those years ago, which is something we see when Anko and Nazuna have a full conversation even after everything that happened between them, which which, while a small step, is a step that's necessary for Anko's new direction in life, showing that while hatred is an intense feeling to have in your life, it doesn't mean you have to have it be part of your life forever. And that's exactly what Anko learned in season 2 of Call of the Night. And that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.